Well, welcome everybody. I know we have a lot of new folks in this training, so I kind of wanted to go over the customization process for NRCS and Maryland mainly, and then just kind of give a general overview of some of the template functions and what's in the templates. My name's Dan Polite. I work with the state of Maryland as an engineering technician in Cecil County. Um, I just hit 25 years this past June, and I've been probably working with CAD for the state for the probably maybe the past 18 years or so. When it was first introduced, we used to have a CAD committee. I was a chair of that. That's kind of fallen off, and I'd like to try to get that up and running again. Um, so hopefully here in the near future, I'm going to try to get that started. But today, it's kind of open forum. So if you have questions as I'm going along, please feel free to ask the questions. I'll try to monitor the chat as best as that I can. But it's just easier if you just, go ahead and just interrupt me as I'm doing anything. And if you have suggestions or if you see something that works better for you throughout the training, please, speak up. You know, Civil3D, right, is a dynamic program that, you can do so many things with, and we only scratch the surface for what we do just so we can get designs out. So if there's something that you see works better for you, most certainly, share with the group, and that way we can all benefit from that. I use these trainings as a training for myself because, I might do it one way and there's a better way out there to do something. So today we're just basically an overview and understanding the Maryland templates, and I'm going to be using Civil 3D 2022. It works with 2020 also. So after this training, you'll be able to complete the NRCS customization process and also the Maryland customization process. Complete the syncing process on the federal system for all our templates and also the support files. Locate where the templates can be found, properly fill out the required information for the drawing, enter the information in the blocks and edit the blocks within the templates, download and install the correct CTB file used for plotting, and have an ability to, in using Sheet Step Manager to generate titles within Civil 3D. So the first step on the agenda, just going to go over the customization for NRCS, and then the Maryland customization, and then syncing to the federal SharePoint site, going over the drawing properties within the templates, just giving a brief overview of the blocks that are located in the templates, downloading the CTB file and publishing your design into a PDF, using the Sheet Step Manager, and then at the end, of course, we can always have Q&A, and if there's anything pressing that you'd like to ask or share, most certainly we can do it at the end of this presentation. Okay, so let's get started with the customization. So hopefully everybody's aware of the Maryland CAD users website. This is kind of where everything that I post trainings on, documents, things like that are located. Since we work on, I know there's some state users within the state that don't have access to the federal system. So there's this Maryland CAD users website that was created to allow external folks not on the federal system to access these templates. And also if you're working with a private engineering company or going through the 505 process, most certainly you can direct them to this site to show them where the templates are or specific details that we have located on this website. And there's just set up with tabs up here on the home screen. This is just a general forum, so if you haven't looked at these, before asking a question to someone, you might be able to go in here and read these forums, because there's a lot of stuff in here that you'll notice might be answered within this questions that you might not have. And that constantly, if there's an issue that I see constantly happening, I'll try to post it on this forum, and then that way it's just accessible to everyone on the site. Civil3D training. This is just all the trainings that
Hey,
that
Dan.
yes.
As far as the forum goes, is there a way to get notified when there's new posts or responses? Like I know SharePoint has that functionality, but as opposed to just having to go back and check regularly, because I never remember to kind of keep up on that.
That's a great question. I'm not sure, because I think there is a way that I think if you're a registered user, I believe you'll get notifications. But if you're not a registered user, I don't believe you'll get those notifications. So I don't know if you've actually registered for this site, or if you just kind of go onto the site and just look around. But if you register, I believe that will give you any type of and I think what it does, it only does things in the forum itself that's saying, such and such, posted a new question or a new forum on the website. But that's all that I believe that is set on there. So if I put up a new template or something like that, or update a template, it's not going to give you any type of notification, unfortunately, that I'm aware of. If that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am registered. I think if I remember right, it does notify you when like there's a response to something you post, but I don't think I get notifications for just anytime something's posted. But I'll look a little more closely and see if I can find that. But
yeah, let me know. I think I just I was going to put one up. I don't think I ever did, but I was working on a new one. Yeah, I didn't put it up. But maybe I'll try to post a new one on here and see if you get a notification on that. Once I post it, I can let you know that I posted it.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. So the Civil3D training tab. So this is all the trainings that I've done, over the past, I don't even know, 5 or 6 years, I guess. So you'll notice here's all the different trainings that you can view. And then there's just some other ones that, show some troubleshooting. And the way I set it up is we have a video, PDF, and if there's another PDF with that, and then a revision date. Webinars. So anytime I have a webinar, like for example today, I'll post these in the webinars link. And then the customization, so that's a whole separate training. So as new versions of Civil3D come out, new customization needs to take place. So you'll see the 2020 and the 2022 customization documents here. And some of them I do actually do a training video on. Some of them we'll just do, like today, we'll just do a webinar on it. Surveying, not too many videos done on this. This is just reference material for the equipment itself. And then DeCarlo does have some videos on their site that I just have links to help anybody out if they're trying to troubleshoot surveying issues. Then all our design templates and details are going to be located on here. Currently, right now, we have the standard templates. So this is where all our standard drawings are located. So these drawings are the exact same drawings, that are located on SharePoint. So we have a total of 43 templates currently. Have the DWG and also the PDF and also the revision date of when they were revised. And then we also have the DWT files, which is the template files, and when they were revised. And as we update all the other details, I'll start putting these in here. I know we just did the fencing details, so we'll have all these details located, similar to what you see here with the fencing details, having the DWG file along with the PDF file. So that's a work in progress. So hopefully by whenever this will be all filled out and have available. And I believe right now they're currently all available on Maryland SharePoint. The only reason I haven't put them up here on the CAD users website is because we're still in the process of updating those. Maryland Design Guides. So this is just what it says. The Maryland Design Guides is just a separate page for those. And then again, the forum is that you can ask questions on here. And I think this, Ryan, is where actually you would would actually get the alert from, is actually during the forum. It wouldn't be when something's posted in here. I think it's just in the forum itself, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if you have a question that it might be useful for everyone that you don't see on here, you can always pose a question, and then I'll get a email stating that something was posted, and I can try to answer it. And if I can't answer it, others can answer it on here too. It's not just limited to the moderator of the website. Anybody can answer it. Any questions on the Maryland CAD users website? All right. All right, so we're going to go start out with the NRCS customization. And again, these PDFs are all, again, located on the Maryland CAD user website. So you can print them out and complete the customization, following the steps along with the PDF file. It wants to open up. So I know with Civil3D, there's been a lot of problems with installation, and I've gotten a lot of phone calls and Teams messaging regarding the installation. And currently right now, they're still in the process of trying to get all the bugs fixed out for 2022. So I've just had people request getting 2020 installed, because that's a more stable program right now, and they're in the process of trying to fix 2022. I have 2022, and once I start doing grading tools and grading optimization stuff, it just, for some reason, it just always crashes. So stick with 2020 for now. Not that much of a difference. So little bit different as far as requesting the install for 2022. I know with most newer folks that are on here, when you get a computer back from IT, most of the time they should have Civil3D software installed. It may be 2022, it may be 2020, but it seems like they're putting 2022 on a lot of the newer computers, and noticing that, it's not installing correctly and they have to uninstall it and put 2020 on there. But if you have a computer that doesn't have it, or you're using 2020 and you want to request to have 2022 installed, this is the process where you would go through OCIO help icon and submit a DWP request to install that program. So that's just the steps on how to do that if you have 2020 and you want to upgrade to 2022. It's up to you if you want to do that. Like I said, right now they're still working out the kinks. So my recommendation is that, just keep 2020, or if you want to try to have them install 2022 and keep 2020 on your machine, that's fine also. But a lot of times with this install, this is the snapshot of what program should be installed for 2022. And just what I've seen over the past, year for the 2022 installs, I guess it's probably past 6 months, 7 months, I guess, not a year. Like half of these programs are actually missing. And I'm not sure why. I had 2022 installed with no problem and without a hiccup. So I'm not sure. And that was the early part of 2022. So I don't know if they changed something. Not sure, but I know National has been reaching out to all the CAD contacts throughout the states to try to gather some information on, how IT is installing the software and what the problems have been. So I know they are actively trying to figure this out. But it's really not a big difference between 2020 and 2022. So it's not a make or break it. The only problem that we'll run into is that at some point, 2020 will not be supported and we'll have to get to 2022. And hopefully by that point, they have everything fixed. So what we'll go over now, once you do have it installed, there's a couple things you want to check. Under your C program data, Autodesk Civil3D 2022 or 2020, that you have the support NRCS folder. And what you really want to concentrate on this, making sure that you have the ARG file. So that's the profile that you'll be adjusting to NRCS's customization. And a lot of times with 2020, they actually have it in the software center that if you do get 2020 installed and you don't see this folder, you can actually go into the software center, just type in Autodesk and you'll see the support NRCS packet for 2020 that you can just install. And otherwise it takes maybe 2 to 3 days to push onto your computer so you're able to access this folder. All right, and then we're just going to go over this process. You're not going to get all these different things that come up as far as the licensing if you already have 2020 installed or 2020 installed. This is just if you were to get a brand new computer and you have to go through here and go through the first process of setting everything up, this might come up. And it's just pretty much self-explanatory as far as getting the licensing figured out. And it just goes through making sure that you sign up into a 360 account, and you can go to www.a360.com if you don't have an account. And what that does, it just gives you an account for Autodesk where you can, basically share your files to, but we have limited access because we don't have like a business account for that. But in order to get the maps to show, like the Bing maps and model space to show, you have to have that account and be logged in order for those maps to show up. So just make sure that if you don't have an account, just create one and make sure you sign in. Once you sign in, every time you open up Civil3D, it'll automatically sign you in. But if you go into model space and you see something that the maps aren't showing up, just verify that you're signed into Civil3D. You can borrow a license. Just keep in mind that borrowing a license actually costs NRCS and to do so. It's not recommended to do that, so I would try to steer away from that as best as possible. I did borrow a license for today's training just in case, with network issues and things like that, where I could still run the program having that borrowed license. So what it does, it borrows the license from the national license manager that basically sits it on your computer, and you have a period of time where you borrow that from. But like I said, my recommendation is just try to steer clear of that because it does cost NRCS money for that. And again, this is all, part of the process when you're going through the customization. It walks you through it. So the next step that I want to go through, and we'll walk through this, the NRCS customization live, but this is what I'm going to go through as far as the process of doing the NRCS customization. Let's see, mark right here, incorrect. 2020 should be 2022. So you always have to launch metric first, and the reason being is we use Imperial, and we have to change a profile in order to load that ARG file that I showed you in the program data folder. So you have to open up metric, change that profile, and import it into the metric, and then open up Imperial, so that way you're not in Imperial changing that profile, you're changing a metric. It's just a process that you have to go through. And then once you launch Civil3D, after you do that customization, that adjust that profile, importing that ARG file, there's just a couple things that you can do, for the additional customization. But at a bare minimum of what I've been showing folks is, as long as you get that NRCS tab, that's really what we're gearing things towards, trying to get that installed. And I might go over the tool palettes. I know a lot of people don't use these. Some people do, some people don't. I have a whole list of different palettes that I use and I've created. I'm just trying to figure out how to share them with everybody on the SharePoint site, and just running into a lot of issues with that. But hopefully I can get that up and running for Maryland, where we'll have our own set of tool palettes that you can choose from, where you can drag and drop details into your drawing, so you don't have to go through open up another drawing and drag and drop them, which isn't a big deal, but sometimes the palettes is right at your fingertips and you can pull those in. And then I'll just go over some of these other paths that we want to set up, which I don't even know if I'll go over these. These are just a default, settings that the NRCS customization has included. But they're just saying, where to add this. And for the template settings, it's going to be a little bit different for us because this is nationals, and with Maryland, we do this a little bit different. But this should be all set up when you do it, and if it's not, that's why they give you this list of where they should be located. All right, so let's go over the process and the customization. I'll probably have to close this out. So this is the NRCS customization. And if you've opened up Civil3D without doing any of the customization process, you'll have to go in under Explorer, go to whatever program, if it's 2022 or 2020, and you'll have to go to reset settings to default prior to doing this customization if you were to open up Civil3D and you're just opening it up without doing anything with it prior to doing the customization. So you just have to reset those settings to default. So again, we open up metric. And like I said, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to, just speak up and ask any questions.
Good morning, Dan. I have a simple question.
Sure.
You recommended signing the AutoCAD 2022, but for a long time, I didn't. I used the AutoCAD 2022, without signing in. But I didn't have any difficulty, any issue without the signing in. So my question is, what is the difference between without and with the signing?
So the main difference on that, Jung, is if you're not signed in up here, you won't have access when you go into your model space. You won't have access to the Bing maps. If you weren't using a template and you weren't signed in, you probably wouldn't have saw any type of issue there. So as you can see right now, I don't have my Qnew set up because I want to go through that. But currently right now, there's no map. I am signed in. But that's the difference. So in order to be signed in, you want to make sure that you have it set up where you're signed in, and then that way you'll be able to see those maps in model space once you open up a actual template itself. So currently right now I'm in the metric. So I don't have any profile here. So, you don't see no Qnew or anything coming up in this because I am in metric. So the first step with the metric, what we need to do is you right click. There's a couple ways to get to options. You can right click to go to options, or you can just type in the command bar options. And there might be even other ways that you can do it. But that's the two ways that I know of. But I usually always right click and get that hyper menu come up and do it that way. So the first step, as I've already done here, we had one called just the Civil3D Imperial. So what you need to do, you just need to go ahead and click rename and type original in front of it. Keep everything the same, but just type original in front of that. Apply and close. And then what you'll do here, you're going to go and select import. And then you're going to select this ARG file, if it's 2020 or 2022. Then you'll open that up. And then what you want to do, it'll give a new name, but you want to rename it to mimic the original Civil3D Imperial. So coming back to here, so you'll notice, highlight the Civil3D, rename it to the original, and then you're going to import that one that I just showed you, the ARG file, if it's 2022 or 2020, and then you're just going to rename that profile to the less than Civil3D Imperial, greater than. And you got to make sure that you label that exactly the same, because what you're doing is that's the default template that it's going to open up. And if you don't have that correctly named, it's going to give you an error that profile's no, it's not located anywhere. It's not available because you named it incorrectly. So you'll know as soon as you do the customization, you go to launch Civil3D Imperial, and the first error you'll get says that this profile is not available, and you won't have that customization completed. It'll still open Civil3D up, but it won't open up that specific profile. Any specific questions on that? So that's the NRCS customization. And I know I worked with a few of you through this already. So after you're done renaming that, importing that profile and renaming it, go ahead and exit Civil3D. Don't need to save the changes. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go in again to your Windows Explorer, and you're going to open up Imperial. Now, one thing that I like to do, I always like to see what I have on my taskbar is like my go-to. As you can see, I don't have anything on my desktop. I have everything located here and just also in this location. But what you can do is you can right click on that Imperial and you click more, and then you can, since I already have it pinned, you can say pin to taskbar, and what that will do, it'll pin it down here to your taskbar. So you always have access to it. If you had something open and you don't want to go back to your desktop, your taskbar is always shown if you have it shown that way. Some people have it where they hide it, but I always have it shown. But that's just something, user preference, of course. So you're going to open up the Imperial Civil3D 2020 or 2022. So can anybody tell me what to look for? What's the first key that you look for, knowing that you've completed the NRCS customization process correctly?
Up at the top there, you've got your NRCS tab.
That's correct. Yep. That's really the main one that you'd look at. There are other tabs that you can go through, like the Trimble link. There's some LiDAR tools. I had a question out to James Reedy, and he's actually moving on, but regarding the magnet software. So there's apparently a magnet software ribbon that they have available, but he was under the assumption that the state had to pay for that. So he's never gotten back to me. So I need to follow up with National on that and see if we can get that magnet tool. I don't even know what it would do for us, if it brings in jobs or how that works. I'm not sure. Just another ribbon, another tool in the toolbox, if you will. But yes, Ryan is correct. So the first thing you want to make sure, knowing that you've created this customization profile correctly, is this NRCS tab. That's really the main tab that you're looking for, knowing that you've done this customization correctly. So the next step, once you have this NRCS customization tab, NRCS tab shown, like I said, you could go through these additional ones as far as the customizing your workspace and your toolbars. I'm not going to get into all that today because it's really not that necessary. You know, the only one that you might want to do is the tool palettes for the sub-assemblies. You could do that, but it's not necessary to do so. I don't think too many people are doing sub-assemblies for waterways and things like that as of right now. I mean, eventually I want to get to that point where I'm, you know, providing training for those, but they have their pros and cons just like anything else as far as, you know, the limitations on the sub-assemblies. But if you would like to do that, most certainly there are instructions on how to do that and, you know, creating those sub-assemblies within the NRCS documentation for the customization process. And again, you know, they have the different palettes showing you what to do, and you can do that also. The customized workspace, I won't get into that, but there is a training that I provide, that I've provided on the Maryland CAD users website regarding workspaces. So currently, you know, out of the box, you know, it's just called, you know, Civil3D. As you can see here, I have toolbars located here. So if you open up, you know, just out of the box, all you're going to see is ribbons up here. You're not going to see any toolbars here. I know just from using Civil3D, and I know any others that have been on, that are on this training, that have used Civil3D in the past, you kind of get accustomed to some things. So I'm accustomed to a lot of these different toolbars up here that I like to see. Even though they're still up here, you know, the save and stuff like that, it's just one less, you know, drag of the mouse up to the top. And I know what they're at, the location, so it's just visually for me, that's just my user preference. And again, you can make this whatever way you want to look, you know, have it looked. But I did mimic my layout here, and I exported as a profile, as a workspace, I'm sorry. And you can download and import that workspace into your Civil3D if you want yours to look this way also. If you could care less about that, then you can just roll on with the Civil3D customization. So if I do the Civil3D one, you'll notice that, you know, there's no ribbons, nothing on the side as far as, well, I guess there is some, but it's just a little bit different than, you know, what I'm used to looking at. So the Maryland Civil3D 2020, this is the one that you could download, and this is kind of what it looks like. You can kind of see this is down here, but I'd like mine up there. You can move it, what have you. But again, this is all user preference, so don't feel as though you're obligated to, you know, use one or the other. The only suggestion that I will make, if you are messing around with your workspace and you're constantly updating it and trying to change it to your specific liking, just keep in mind on your workspaces, if you go down to your workspaces, and if this isn't showing up here, there's a down arrow right next. I mean, I don't even know what they consider that arrow, but it's a drop down. I'll just call it a drop down. But these are all the ones that you can show as this quick access bar. So if you don't see your workspace showing, it's just not checked. Okay, pretty simple, but you can check and uncheck all these if you don't want them shown. Totally up to you. But as far as the workspace, you can, in the workspace settings, the default is do not save changes to workspace. So if you were to make changes to your workspace, say you added a toolbar or you added, you know, you docked a certain say properties or something on the right-hand side. If you don't have this checked, automatically save workspace changes, and you exit out of your project and you come back in, it goes back to the default. So my recommendation is I would go ahead and click automatically save workspace changes until you get that workspace set to your likings. And then once you do that, go ahead and save it as, and then you can go ahead, do not save changes to workspace after you save it as your specific workspace. Again, there's a separate training on this workspaces, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of that real quick. Any questions up to this point? Okay. All right. So we have our NRCS tab. We've created the NRCS customization. Like I said, you can go through the other, the palettes and the sub-assemblies if you'd like, but at a bare minimum, I would just kind of stick with the NRCS tab for now. So now we need to move on to the mailing customization. And this is kind of a offset to NRCS customization because we've created our new, well, I say new, we've created templates. So probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even longer. I'm not even sure now. As a designer, when I was new, of course, back then we were hand drafting things, doing a lot of Xerox copying and Mylar to, put on the design sheets. And I was always struggling as a designer as knowing which details do I need to have, on a plan in order to, have it approved. So with the CAD committee, we've, came up with these templates, and we even considered to call them guidelines too at some point, but we ended up calling them templates. But basically what it is, for you as being a designer, you have access to these templates that will help you as the designer figure out what details are required and what items are needed to have this design, approved. Of course, you have to go through the conservation practice standard code, knowing exactly what's required, but this kind of gives you that drawing aspect, if you will, of what should be included in that drawing. So we wanted to make it more consistent across the state, for one, and two, we wanted to make sure that, all the different practices that we use have a template set up that is easily accessible to the user designer, that it's a lot easier for you to start a project where you're just not starting from blank, or if you did a design then you copy and paste, because you really get yourself in trouble when you start copy and pasting things from one drawing to another. You always want to start out with a fresh template and start that design that way. So this is what the templates were built from, for that reason. So in order to customize the mailing customization, we first have to, we're viewing this on the federal system, right? State users, unfortunately, they have to go, anybody off, I'll just say anybody off of the federal network, it could be county employees too, they would have to go onto the Maryland CAD users website, download that template, and start their drawing this way. The nice thing about the SharePoint website and syncing, if I were to make a revision to any of these templates, there's nothing that you have to do as a user. It automatically updates on SharePoint, so you have the most up-to-date and current template. Users that are getting it from the CAD users website, they're going to get the most up-to-date template also. It's just a process that I have to do by placing that updated template onto the CAD users website, but it will be the exact same template that is shown in SharePoint. So don't feel as though that, the one on the federal side of things is different than the one on SharePoint. I keep those, both the same. So the process is that you have to have a OneDrive account. And most of the time when you get a computer, you're granted with a OneDrive account. And what that OneDrive account should look like, you'll notice this is your personal OneDrive account. It should come in OneDrive USDA. So they're trying to get rid of the F drive, and I know at one point in time that was like our quote unquote hard drive where we put all our documentation, and that's since IT has since said, we need to get rid of that. We need to start putting it on the OneDrive. So this OneDrive is your personal hard drive, basically. I forget how many gigs I have on this thing, and I don't think there's a limitation. I've asked IT about it, and they've never said anything about the limitation, but everything's there. And the nice thing about having this OneDrive account that's set up, if your computer were to crash and for whatever reason a hard drive took a crap and you needed a new laptop, this OneDrive is shared in the cloud. So once you put your link pass into your computer, this OneDrive will show up on any computer within the office, or any computer, period, as long as you have a link pass and you're connected to the federal server. So that's the one joy of that, having your own personal external hard drive, more or less, but it's external but internal, if you will. And then the other one is the USDA OneDrive, and this is where I'll go and show you what we need to sync up in order to create this USDA drive. And that's part of the Maryland customization process. So the first step is you need to go to the website where the Maryland SharePoint site is located. So I did put out new instructions on this, and I did update them on our Maryland CAD users website, talking about how to customize this and also where this is at. So there is a link. So if you don't have this specific link, if you go into the Maryland CAD users website under Maryland Customization 2022, you'll notice the Syncing Maryland templates, and you can click on that federal system, and this will point you to the correct location. So it's going to take me to the same location I was just at. So this is just a new SharePoint layout, if you will, that they've been working on. And you'll notice a lot of different headings or menus up here at the top, a little bit different. And also on the side here, there's a drop down where these same topics are located: the training, engineering review, design, CAD support, state supplements. It's a little bit different than this, but pretty much it's the same thing. This CAD support, I don't think they had the design tools listed in there, but this is kind of like just a quick select, if you will. But the one that we want to concentrate on is the CAD support. So you select the CAD support, and then you'll notice here's all the different CAD files that are currently located on the share drive. And as I've shown you before, on the CAD users website, I have spots for these, but I just haven't updated them. As you can see, they've been last modified in 2027. So I'm slacking and need to get these things updated. So that's why I'm trying to at least maybe push to, get a CAD committee group together to help assist in trying to get some of these details updated, so they're available to everybody and they're most up-to-date details. But the one we want to concentrate for templates is this first one. Here's all our templates located here. Same as our CAD users website. So if you go to CAD support, select it, and then up top here, you'll see new, upload, share, copy link, sync, download, export to Excel. One we want to concentrate on is this sync button. So if you hit sync, sometimes it'll pop up with a message up top here. I don't know if I have that in directions or not. I believe I might. Yeah, I don't. But if there's a message that pops up on there, it pops up here something about using the most up-to-date version of Microsoft OneDrive, just go ahead and click open. That's all you have to do, and then I don't think that message will ever pop up again. But as long as you click open, if you hit close, I think it just constantly pops up. But if you click open, then that message will go away. So basically what's happening right now, they're syncing all the files. So the initial start, if you don't have any of these downloaded, or you haven't synced to this specific location on SharePoint, it might take some time. And on the bottom right hand side, you'll notice a little cloud. And then as you can see, it pops up OneDrive USDA up to date. So it's synced the files, everything's up to date. You can close this, and like I said, this will automatically do this in the background. So that's the first step, is syncing to the NRCS templates under CAD support. Any questions on that? And then the only other one that I do sync up to under the CAD support, again, is the Civil3D support files. So it's got some work in progress. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff in here. Some things I need to go in there and clean up. But you can see where the Maryland Civil3D 2020 or the 20 CUIX file. So that's in the workspace training. It shows you where this location is. That's where you would gather that workspace and go through the process of importing it into your Civil3D. But it's located in the support files. Tool palettes, there's some tool palettes in here. Like I said, it's a work in progress on this. You'll notice that there's all these different DWGs in here. And I'm finding out that you have to have these DWGs in a centralized location. And when I create the palette, that it has to reference in this location. So I think I'm getting on the right track of getting these done and available. I just have to really press through it and see if it works, and have some people pilot this just to make sure it does work. So these are support files. So that's the other one that I would like to have synced on my computer. So if you hit again, sync, close, again, I'm already synced up to that. So if you open up your Explorer, you'll notice up top here, here's my support file. So you can select that. And just one thing on this, you'll notice there's a check mark. And what that means, that check mark means that it's basically downloaded on my computer as a copy. Doesn't mean that it won't get the updates, because once it's updated, there's a internal link in here that knows that it's on SharePoint. So if I do an update on any of these, it'll automatically, you'll see this start turning into like a spinny circle, making sure that it's updating. But the other thing is you can uncheck to always keep on device. So if I just opened this, I think. If you right click on it and uncheck it, and I think this is the new way, they don't have a cloud on there now. I think it's the circle with a check in it. So if it's not colored in, then that means it's available for download, compared to always keep on this device, which, it's just it's really not a big deal. It does, if your computer is lacking storage, then I would recommend just keeping them, where you download it. But all it does is speed up the process, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, honestly. As when you open up a template, it just doesn't have a little bit of lag where it's downloading that file. So it's not a huge deal of having this online or on your computer. Again, user preference. Same with the, the support files. Again, you can keep them on here, or, you can, just keep them where they're on the cloud. Doesn't matter. Any questions on that before I get into the actual customization, after we sync these and kind of going over the different templates in here? All right, moving right along. So now that we have everything synced to the federal side on the SharePoint site, the next step would be to point our template location. So when we're opening up a new file, it'll point to the correct template location to pull those templates from when you start a new file, and then the Qnew. So every time, as you saw when I opened this up, this is Qnew, and it brings up that Qnew folder or file each time. And then what you want to do with that, that's just your Qnew drawing. So if you were to open up something without a template, you can pull things in from this Qnew, just going through the settings and drag and drop. If you wanted a specific surface style, from this, you can drag and drop it into the drawing you're working in. So that's kind of what the Qnew is for. It's just kind of like this is what I use for my creating all my templates, and I have to adjust the templates based off of this Qnew. And I just noticed my north arrow in this. I got to adjust this. I've been having problems with this north arrow. It's actually National's north arrow, and for some reason, when I bring it into our templates, it has a slight crookedness to it, and I can't realign that north for whatever reason. So I might have to create a new dynamic north for our templates. And I just noticed on this one, okay, it does have it on there. So you'll notice on the older templates, it doesn't have this specific note on the bottom. So when you have Qnew open, if you set it up correctly, which I'm going to go through, you can drag and drop this right into your drawing that you're working in, because I know all the drawing templates currently right now do not have this statement, but this is where you can find it. It's on the Qnew. So let's set that up real quick. Again, you can right click options or type in the command line options. And what we're going to be concentrating on here is the files tab. And under template settings. So there's two that we're going to work with. The Qnew. So you're going to highlight whatever, the NRCS one comes out as. I forget where it goes to, but just highlight over that and hit browse. And then you want to browse to that USDA folder that you had just synced from the NRCS SharePoint site. And you're just going to select the NRCS Maryland standard template folder. So you open that, and then you're going to select, I just do the 34 Civil3D blank. That's the 22 by 34. And then they have there's 11 by 17 and 8.5 by 11 that I made up. But for most of the drawings we're doing are 22 by 34. So it's just recommended to do the 22 by 34. Click open, and it's going to show you the default template file for Qnew. The next step is the drawing template file location. And again, this is going to point to what the NRCS default was. Again, we're just going to go in, highlight it, hit browse. And then again, we're just going to have to go into our USDA, select our templates, click open. So that's really the main two files that I'm going to go over today. As bare, like I said, bare minimum type stuff here. There's tool palettes that, we can get into later, but as you can see, I've added some tool palettes here. But like I said, for the sake of, newer folks that have no experience with Civil3D, I don't want to bombard you with all this information because I know it's a very overwhelming program. So I want to try to get you with the least amount of information, but enough information where you can get the job done, if that makes any sense. But for folks that have used this, I think, I know I've done some trainings on the tool palette locations and using the tool palettes. But if, you're a little bit more advanced and you say, hey, Dan, I've used Civil3D or AutoCAD for, 2-3 years, and I'd like to, do the tool palettes, shoot me an IM, shoot me an email, and I most certainly can go over that process with you and show you how those tool palettes work. I don't know what happened there. Can you guys hear me? For some reason, my headset's my headset.
Yeah, you can you disappeared and came back.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. So this is all the customization, the two for templates and also the one for the support or the Qnew. Any questions on that? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with the templates. I just want to make sure I'm keeping on track here. A little bit ahead of schedule, which is fine. Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break? Just start back up at 10:15 since we're a little bit ahead of schedule. And see you back at 10:15. I'll be here, so if you have questions, feel free to pop something in the chat or, talk out loud, whatever you want to do.
Hello, Dan.
Hey, John.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I don't know, my, meeting, the app has some problem, but anyway, I lost track of, the setting up template, I tried to, but I have, if you don't mind, could you, show, how to set up, template, I know, you open, you just, set up on the ship index, but, I try to follow you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, for bothering you.
No, that's fine. So you're saying that you weren't able to sync to the Maryland templates, or you're not able to open up a new drawing and it show the location of where the templates are located?
Yeah, both of them, shift set template file location and template, drawing template file location, both of them. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're fine. So in the options, again, you just want to make sure the tool palette file, the template setting location for
Yeah.
drawing template file location.
Template file location. Okay. Template file. Yeah, I open there. Yeah, I
Yep.
click it. Yes.
And then what you do is hit browse.
Uh-huh.
And then you want to browse to that one that shows the USDA. Looks like, I don't know,
Yeah.
looks like a city. I don't know.
Yeah. The
you
tariff,
sel-
yeah. I don't
you
know, I don't have that one. I don't have that link, USDA.
Okay, so you don't have that. So you probably have to go through the process originally where we went into this SharePoint site, and what you have to do here, you'll have to sync that in order to get that
Yeah.
link to come up. So that's where you go into your CAD support,
Yeah.
and then you select the Civil3D templates, and then that's where you'll have to sync.
Oh.
So once you sync these, then
Mhm.
you should see this USDA pop up,
Ah, I
and
see.
then it should show up here.
I got you. Yeah. Oh, let me see. I have already opened, SharePoint and CAD support, and can I click on the folder 1299
Yes.
and sync?
Yep.
Okay.
And if you hit sync, there might be a message that comes up top, something
Yes.
about having the most current up to date. Just click open.
Yeah, open. Okay, click on open.
And then
Always. Can I click on always allow?
Yeah,
to
you can
open?
click always allow open. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
and then it should
Okay.
pop up with this window saying we're syncing your files,
Mhm.
and then you can hit the close on that,
Mhm.
and then down at the bottom you should have a little cloud pop up saying that all the files are syncing.
Yeah. Okay. Let me refresh. It doesn't work now. But let me just a moment. Browse. Click browse. And oh yeah, I got it. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And
Yes.
then you should have that USDA tab showing the
Yes.
NRCS templates, and then the other one
Yes.
you want to do is the support files. The same process. Just go ahead and sync that one.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. All right, so let's get back to this. So now that we have these files synced, now we want to point to those files when we're opening up a new drawing. So the first step in doing so, and again, you just got to make sure that, this USDA folder has been set up, and then you have these two files located, or folders located. If you don't see that, then you didn't sync properly. Yeah. So, and if you're having problems where you're syncing it, just shoot me an IM and I can walk you through it if you're still having problems if you don't see that folder come up. So when you start a new project, again, I'll show you with the Qnew. I'm going to just close this drawing out. And actually what I'm going to do, when you open up Qnew, so this is Qnew, or you can just type in, well, I don't even think there's no command line here. So you'll just have to hit the Qnew, or on the drop down, you can just hit new. Nope, that's not Qnew. I think you do have to hit just this Qnew. So Qnew is just you're opening up that template for the Qnew. So this is just that 2-sheet DWT that we referenced to. That's all that's for. Or when you open up a drawing, the Qnew is the default where it opens up to. But the main thing having these templates synced is when you go and say you want to start a waterway project. So on the federal system, I'm going to show you this process. And then on the state side, or non-federal side, when you start a new project, all you're going to do is go into the CAD users website, and I'll show you how to do that. So on the federal side, you just come to the big C, hit the drop down, click the new tab, and then drawing. So once you select that drawing, if you've done this sync correctly, are these all going away? That's interesting. It just disappeared. Huh. Well, that was interesting. Never seen that before. Well, that was a new one for me. You should be able to click this big Civil3D new. Oh, wonder why that's not in there.
Dan, I'm looking at mine through my file explorer, and the folders are empty.
Yeah, what happened? I hope they're not. I don't know if they're migrating stuff. That's interesting. Where did they go? They were just showing. Wonder if it's a network issue. I mean, it's showing. Let's see. And why all these changes are taking place as we speak? Huh. Well. SharePoint site is correct. Shown on here correct. I'm just going to sync this again. And it's not even showing them in here. The port files are in there. I don't know if I wonder if she's currently moving stuff over. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know what happened. Very interesting there. I didn't want to do that. Why did that happen like that? Like they're all going away. I mean, nobody should have access to them. I'm not sure why that is. Well. Let's see, CAD support. This is empty now too. I bet you she's I don't know if she's changing this. They must be actively. What a good time to try to migrate all this stuff. Right in the middle of my training. I didn't get any. That's weird. There's nothing in here all of a sudden. And it was all in there before because I showed you guys. All right, so I'm not sure where they went to. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that and see what's going on. They changed that file location. And they changed that file location. Interesting. Alrighty then. I think she took everything out of the old all the old stuff, I believe. Yeah, because there's nothing in the Civil3D templates in the old one. Hey, why did they show back up? Well, that was weird. It doesn't even have a modification date on there. Well, I'm going to have to get back to everyone on this and figure out what had happened. At least I got it documented anyway. No one's seeing things.
Dan, I'm looking at some of the other folders and they're empty too.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like even, I mean, all of them, like
Yeah.
all the drainage details, but you saw me earlier, I clicked
Well,
on
no, I mean, under the engineering folder, if you go back out to the main folder, and like just click on
Oh, wow.
any of the.
Oh, yeah. Wonder if they're in the process of hopefully updating it. Huh. Interesting. All right, well, I will show you how it's supposed to be, and hopefully it comes back. I'll keep everyone posted on that. Might have something to do with the SharePoint site. Maybe take another break here, and maybe I'll try to reach out to Rana and see what's going on. I know she's kind of the one that's doing all the migration. So I don't know if I know they're still in the process of migrating the engineering review folders to the new site. So I don't know if the site has to go down in order to migrate that information over. I'm not 100% sure. That might be the case, but I'll find out. So let's pretend here. So we have everything set up. So what you want to do once you have that drawing, I guess Meredith just talked to her and she said she didn't move anything. Not sure what's going on. All right, thanks, Meredith. Yeah, I hope this is something that's not going to be a huge issue. Never had issues like this before. So yeah, it's empty. Let me just do this again. That is crazy. Never seen that. Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, everything has been removed. All right, well, I'm gonna have to get back to you, everyone on this. But I'm gonna show you the process. When you have it linked up, it should default to this USDA templates, and all your templates will be shown here. The first time that you do this, please keep note that it might be set up as a DWT and you'll only be seeing those 3 DWT files and not the DWG. If that's the case, just go down here under files of type and just make sure you select DWG, and then all those DWG files will show up. And then you just select the one that you want, and you can move forward with the process of starting your drawing. So the other way, since we're not on the federal system and it's not cooperating with us, we'll go and show you going through the Maryland CAD users website. Again, design templates and details, standard templates. And we'll just select for this training, we'll just go ahead and select the, let's do a grass waterway. And what that does is basically prompts you to download it. So you're just saving it as. So we'll just save it in here. Once it's downloaded, you should be able to double click. As long as you're in Civil3D, you should be able to double click and it's going to open up that grass waterway DWG file. Man, this has got me concerned about these templates now. Sorry. So this is a template. Does anybody know how to tell if you're in a template? The one thing that should really give it away that you're in a template. Anybody have an answer for that? I know somebody does. DWT file? No. Something to do when you go into model space that you know if you're in a template or not. Well, and I know somebody has to know this. That's right. That's right, Brandon. Bing map. That is correct. So the one thing, if you open up the out-of-box NRCS template, no projection has been set. So if you go into model space, you'll see no map. That's the first thing. If somebody asks me, you know, like I don't see no map on here. Are you in a template? Yeah. And come to find out, they're not in a template. They just opened up the generic NRCS template. So that's the biggest giveaway for our templates. So now everyone knows if you're in a template, you can see the map because the projection has been set. And again, the first time you open this up, it'll come up with a pop-up message stating that, you know, you're going to use online maps. Just make sure you select yes. I think it's yes, and always remember this selection, I believe, is the pop-up window. I don't know if I have an example on that or not. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. So that's the biggest thing. It'll be able to show Bing maps, and these maps, and I actually just did this with Jung, but I go over directions on how to export a map from ArcMap, and it's kind of the same process in ArcPro. But when I brought in that map from ArcPro compared to The Bing maps, there's about 2 to 3 foot difference. And I just need to discuss this with Tyler because they're in the same projection, they're in state plane. So I just want to verify with him if there's what I could do to fix that, because it is off just a little bit. The Bing maps show pretty much spot on, but the ArcGIS map is a little bit, it's at least on the one that I did with Jung, it showed the map a little bit north of what the Bing maps show. So I'm not sure what one's correct or what one's incorrect. So I need to discuss that with Tyler to verify that, because these Bing maps, obviously, you know, they only have a certain resolution as you zoom in. And when you use these Bing maps, you know, you're capturing an area, and then you can set that level for your map, for your plan, the aerial. So the more you're zoomed in, you know, the crisper it is. But as the further you zoom out, even though it's in optimal mode, or I think it's optimal, there's a couple different ones when you capture an area. So if I capture this area, for example, optimal coarse is the lowest, very fine is the most detailed that you can get. And the nice thing about this also, when you do capture an area, you can fade that, you know, to kind of make that barely shown. So if you were showing existing contours, things like that, the map is behind there, but it's very faint where it's not taken away from what you're trying to show in your design. Any questions on that? So the map is the dead giveaway for using the Maryland template. And another one, of course, is the NRCS tab. That's the two things that you can, well, actually, that is incorrect, because you could have the NRCS tab and not be using the Maryland template. So the Maryland template is the one that has a projection set. The NRCS tab is just setting the NRCS customization. It's not until you get in the actual templates that show and project in the correct projection. So as far as the templates, let me see where we're at here. Go over a little bit with the drawing properties. So does anybody know what these gray areas mean behind some of this text within the title block mainly, and the name? Does anybody know what that gray text is referred to as?
An editable attribute?
Edited attribute? No, it's not an editable attribute. It's similar to that. It's not a block. So what I know, there's some users here that have been doing this. You know where we go to change these, correct? So
I put a link to the drawing utilities manager.
it's a drawing utility property, but they're actually considered fields. So a field is something that you can reference in the drawing. So it could be anything you have a tag to. So you can have a field for, for example, the file name. So that file name is a field that's tagged. It's almost like a hyperlink is the kind of way I think of it. That once that file, this is pointed to the actual file name that's located here. So once that changes, this will change. So anything that has that gray background to it is considered a field. And in a field, you can actually take that gray background away, but I like to have it so users are aware that, this is something that you have to go into to enter the information into. It's not like a block or a block attribute where you double click in here and you change this. I know a lot of folks do that. But when you select it, the first thing that pops up is field, and the field category it's in a document, and the actual field name is main practice. And then this is just the format, it's in uppercase. So anyone that you select in here, so for example, county, might not be able to select it because it is in the block. Yeah, it's in the block. So this might be in a block too. Just trying to find, well, let's just do this one. So the file name, by double clicking here, field, it points to the file name, and it's the file name only. And I can display the file extension or not display the file extension. So these are just properties within the drawing template. So if you double clicked in here and you change this as if it were a quote unquote attribute or a block attribute, what's going to happen is that gray is going to be taken away, and now it's just text. Okay. Now sheet 2 has that same attribute or field. So if you were to change it in this location, double clicked it, and you just change that text to whatever you wanted to change that drawing name to, it will not change this field here. So with that being said, fields are used to change multiple things within a drawing that have this same similar field associated with them. So county, phone number, landowner name. There's one for the sheet set manager, job class, designed by. So when I first started doing this, once I started doing this, I noticed that, I filled out all this information on this title block, and then I said, all right, now I got to copy it to each page. So if I had 10 pages, I'd have to copy the same index on the all 10 pages and just the page numbers. And then upon, doing some research, ran into these fields. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I can, create fields for this stuff. And in order to get into the fields, all you have to do is go up to the big C, as I think Brandon then Jacob had stated, the big C under drawing utilities and then drawing properties. So the big C, drawing utilities, drawing properties. The default will probably come up as general. Statistics talks about editing time, how long you've been in there. And then this custom tab is where we're going to, add different things in here. So these are the custom files that we need to go in there and change. Okay. So if you put in design by, you can put in drawn by, checked by, approved by. And you can just put all these same dates in there, what have you. I will make a note, or let everyone know, when you create your PDF and you publish that PDF, make sure the checked and approved boxes are, so it has these dashes in there. In order to remove those dashes when you make that PDF, you must put some type of character in there. So I just put a space in there. If not, when you create that PDF, you're going to show those 3 dashes in there. So nobody, can sign over top of them, if you will. So you just want to make sure when you have those, that creating that PDF, you just want to put a space in there so it doesn't allow that dashes to show. So I'll leave one with the dashes, and then I'll put a space on this one, just kind of showing you check by and approved by date of what they look like. County, pretty self-explanatory. State, that pretty much stays the same unless you don't want something out of state, which we shouldn't be. Drawing number, that should be the default of whatever template that you opened up. Total number sheets, so if you had 10 sheets here, you could put 10 in here. The only thing that you'll have to do manually is that you'll have to go into the sheet. So if there's, say there's 6 sheets in your template, and say you add 2 additional sheets. So now you have 8 sheets, but the numbers only go from 1 to 6. Those additional 2 sheets, you'll just have to make sure that the first portion of that sheet, you'll have to change to 7 and 8. But this will actually progress as you go up those sheet numbers. So it's just the first one that you would have to change. Landowner site name, it's kind of shown right here, landowner site name. The main practice. So that's the main practice. If it's a waste storage facility and you got 10 other items associated with that, just put the main practice on there. Even if you're doing a waste storage structure with a HUA with roof runoff, just call it a waste storage facility. It just gets kind of jumbled up if you start listing those out. And at one point in time, we had folks list all those out due to programs. But that's why we put these as-built contract items over here to kind of show all those supporting practices along with the main practice. So just the main practice goes there. Track number. Enter the track number, and of course the job class. Make sure you enter that. City. Phone number. You just overwrite that phone number. Whereas you saw with the track number and the job class, I just wrote after those 2. But on the phone number, you just want to highlight that phone number and put, whatever phone number, your office location, whatever the case may be. So that's all the information shown on the drawing properties. And everything shows up, right? Not really. Then you're like, oh, I just put all this information in. Why isn't it showing it? Regen is your friend. So REGEN. All right, see, now I'm crashed. REG, what is going on here? Oh gosh. 2022, gotta love it. Regen, and you'll notice everything pops up.
I think REA, Regen All, is the newer version of that.
REA, what?
It's just REA.
Oh, it's just REA?
Yeah.
Okay. So REA, Regen All. See, I learn something new every day. I've not had a problem with the regen command, but might be the new thing. Sorry, I'm just making a note of this. So REA, Like
And that
do
is
the-
that's very important. Like Dan said, it really helps a lot when you make a change and you don't notice anything. REA fixes it. It can regenerate the contours, anything like that.
yes, yeah, it's a good go-to command. So you'll notice anything that had that black or that gray highlight, it's changed it based off of what you put that information in. And you'll notice on here, remember how I put a character in here as a space, where this I didn't put a space. So when I go to publish this is going to show that. So when you're publishing your drawing, for approval, just make sure that you take those lines out by putting a space in there. Shows the job class, shows the track number, John Doe. We're going to get into the sheet step manager because if I double click in this, field, current sheet title. So this is based off of sheet set characters. So it'll produce the title of each one of these sheets once you produce that sheet set manager. And then we'll put a title in here, and then it'll automatically populate those names of those sheets. One thing that I see often, and others that are on here that do design reviews, and people create PDFs that you want to make sure that you're aware of. The reason why there's an underscore on all these file names is for the purpose of SharePoint. For some reason, they don't like spaces on their file types. So that's why we have the underscores in there. But as you notice, when you have an underscore, it treats it as one line of text. So you want to make sure when you save this drawing, save it to the name, whatever you're saving it to, just make sure you put spaces in there. I think I have two lines in there that can double stack, so you shouldn't have a problem as far as the file name fitting in there. But just make sure that that stays within that title block. Otherwise, when you go to create that PDF, you're creating it to the extents. So those extents are the outside of this entire border. Okay, that border is set at 22 by 34. If you do to the extents, it's going to go to the outside of this text here. And guess what? Now your scaling's off. And today's world, with the digital world, as reviewers, a lot of people are not printing these out. They're, reviewing them on, their computers digitally, and, that could be missed. That can be missed when reviewing. So it's very important to make sure that drawing name, that's the one thing that I see on a lot of the drawings, that the drawing name goes outside, and we just got to make sure we keep that in the title block. Any questions on the drawing utilities? Or drawing properties, I shall say. All right, moving right along. So within these templates, you see a lot of information. Again, they're templates. They're used for you, the designer. You can delete things. You can add things. It's not a end all for the specific drawing that you're working on. It's used to assist you on what information should be on that plan. Anything in red, I try to put something in red saying what needs to be done, or if it's a block. I don't know how else to do it other than putting it in red. But once you have it, you've completed it, just go ahead and delete that. So if you entered the seating information, just go ahead and delete that. Choose one, whatever, delete that. User to enter practices. These are considered attributed blocks, meaning that they're have attributes set within them. So a couple ways you can do it. Knowing that it's an attribute, you just select that block and you'll notice all these grips on it. Then you should know, okay, well, there's grips in there, must require information. There's a couple ways of doing it. You can double click it. And then as you go through these, it should go in order. When I create these attributed blocks, you know, I have to select them in the order that they come up here. So if you're in a drawing and you notice that, hey Dan, I put these in, but it's showing up somewhere else, just let me know, because I just didn't put the attributes in the correct order. So let me know if you run into any problems with any of the details. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It gives you a prompt: enter practice code, reportable amount, and contract amount. So in this case, the practice. So this is going to be the practice, and we can call it 313 waste storage. And you'll notice as I'm typing, you'll see it pop up. Most of the time you'll have the contract item in here. So if it's 25,000 cubic feet, that's the contract amount. So I get a lot of questions with these as far as why do we need this? This is mainly for equip practices, because when it's sent in the programs, they need to see this, I guess, these three main items for them to approve or make payment when it's submitted by the DC. So that's why we have the as-built statement inspected by the construction approval signatures and the DC signing off on it. And then we have the contract amount, and then we'll put the reportable amount in there. And then, the owner contractor statement in here. So that's why this information is shown the way it is on a lot of these templates in that order, so they can just scan that in and send it in with their payment. I'm almost 100% positive that's still the case. And until we're told otherwise, we're just going to continue doing that. As far as Max is concerned, you don't have to put this on here if you don't want to. I know some people have removed the contract amount and adjusted that block and just deleted that contract amount and just had the reportable amount. So, once the project was completed, they can show the as-built, contract items, or if you wanted to just change it to as-built items, then they'll have the practice and then the reportable amount, and that might only be for state projects. But it is editable. You can go in there and change that. And also on the text, so if like reportable amount, for example, say, you reported at 20,000 cubic feet, you'll notice that it comes out in red, meaning that, that was the as-built. If you don't want it to come out in red, most certainly you can go in here and say, I want it in black. You do have options in these blocks. So to edit a block, you can right click, select it, edit block in place. Or you can open it up in block editor. So I'll discard these changes. Go to block editor. So you can just delete all this information out if you wanted to. That's selecting my lines. And you can delete these out, and then, you know, you can adjust this. So that's just a trim command. Type on TR for trim, select what you want to trim to. Again with this, trim. And then if you wanted to change this to reportable items, okay, close block editor. Save the changes to as-built contract items. Of course, I had something in here that I'll just have to change. So now you have reportable items in here. Now notice, this gets tricky with blocks. So say if you created a block in one drawing and you wanted to bring it into another drawing. If you go to the properties here, you'll notice this block is called as-built contract items. So if you want to use this in another drawing that you're working with, you got to make sure that you rename that as-built contract items and call it, I don't know, max portable items or something. So now I've created that block to be named max reportable items, because what happens if you have two of the same blocks that are named the same and you're bringing it into a drawing, it's not going to overwrite that drawing that you're bringing it into is, you know, you're going to see that same reportable items in there. So if I were to take this block, I should have showed you the difference, but basically what happens now, I can take this block, Control C, Control V, and I still have that block that I can use. But if I didn't rename it, it's going to overwrite these changes that I made in that block, if that makes any sense. So any block you change to something that you use on a regular basis, that like, hey, I don't use this detail the way it's drawn, most certainly change it to what you want to call it. If it's your county's name, plunge pool, or whatever you want to call it. And then that way, if you have a library of ones that you currently use in your county, most certainly, you know, just create that list of blocks that you use within your county that, you know, that you adjust every single time or something that you just don't like the detail or what have you. Just make sure that you rename them. That's all. And then just some of these other details that you'll notice: user to click block and enter information. Again, I try to put these in the blocks that require the user to enter information. But if you select a block, you'll notice there's grips. Whereas if I select this block, that's just the grip to do the insertion point. Or this block, it's just the grip for the insertion point. These has all kinds of information shown here. And again, you can select, right click, edit attributes, or another way, you can highlight it. You can go to your properties, and then you can type it in here. it'll give you the same outcome. Now I've tried with all these blocks that are in the templates to allow for those grips to be movable. So, you know, you can move it closer to 20 foot if you want to, you know, make it look nicer, whatever you want to do. It's just hard to determine, you know, figuring out that line length. Like, you know, what if somebody has a 300 foot or 400 foot length? I don't know. Probably could shorten those up in the details and when we update these, but all these are not locked. So you have the option in when you create these attributes that you can lock them, but I chose not to do that so the user can, you know, adjust those accordingly, you know, to make it look nicer, you know, with the attributes. And then once you're done that, if you've created those attributes the way you want them, just go in there and make sure you just delete that out. Any questions on block attributes or editing blocks or anything like that? No? Everybody's good? All right. A couple more things here. Downloading the CTB file. Can somebody tell me what the CTB file is and what it's used for? So what's the first thing that you see on this map or on this paper space? Well, let's do it this way. So, as you can see, there's different colors associated with all these information on that. Now, it's not shown here because I didn't change it on here, but if I were to change this, and the default for the templates is to display the plot styles. But if I don't, you'll notice there's some, you know, text or annotation, things like that, that have different colors. So if you select this, it's under blocks, it has a certain color. So that's your plot styles. So when you set up a CTB file, that's going to show you exactly how this is going to print. So right now, if I were to leave it as is, it's not going to print that, okay? So that's why on the index, it's set up as display plot styles. And these plot styles are located here, okay? So we've created one in Maryland. We've kind of adapted it, Jacob and I, Diego's and I adapted it from national and adjusted a little bit on it, but it's pretty much the same NRCS black white CTB file that comes with the NRCS one. Might be a little bit, you know, changed. I think the only thing really that we changed on it was the 240 is the as-built line or color, where we made that object where it actually shows red. So when you're doing an as-built, that 240 color will actually show red when you plot it out. That's probably the main one that we changed. But you select that plot style, you display the plot styles, click OK, and you'll notice this is a capture, a live view of actually what this is going to print out to be. Okay, so that's why I put the plot styles on there on the templates. So, you know, you don't see all those colors because it's like, whoa, what are all these colors? It's not going to be printed out that way. But in order to do that, so if you set up Civil3D and you go in and the first time you open up the CT or open up your drawing template file, you probably saw what I just showed you with all the colors on there. That means that the CTB file has not been set up. So the first thing you want to do, you have to make sure you copy and paste the CTB file. Wow, they all came back. Look at that. I know Meredith said something about restore them from the recycle bin for the CAD support files, but they're back too. That's kind of scary. I might have to discuss with her on permissions on this stuff, because I've had noticed that folks are adjusting things and saving, so I got to talk with her about that. But thanks for reaching out on that, Meredith. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so before the CTB file, let me back up one step on this. So let's go back to the big C. And again, when you're starting a new project, the big C, select new, ta-da. So now it's pointed in the direction that you've set up on the USDA templates. Here are all the different ones that are available. So I don't know, in this case, we're doing farmstead improvement. And here's the template that you start out with. You can't overwrite this, so if I were to go to hit save, it's going to prompt me to save it. So you can't overwrite the template, so don't feel as though that you can overwrite these templates. But that's how it's supposed to work. So anytime you open up a drawing for the first time, you're creating a new one, the big C, you can just select new, or you can drag it over to new drawing. But if you just select new and you had the template file location set up correctly, you'll be able to pull from whatever template that you're looking for. And then again, it all has the different attributed blocks and things like that that you can adjust and change or what have you. All right, glad we got that worked out. That was kind of scary. All right, back to the CTB file. So in the support file location, which we should have synced to, so the Civil3D support file, you'll notice that there's a NRCS black, white, gray CTB file. You right click, copy that. And a quick way to figure out exactly where this file location is, because it is a long drawn out. I mean, I know where it's at, but if you're trying to figure out where it's at, what you have to do is you got to go into your page setup manager. Just go into modify, and in this plot style table assignments, what you'll see, go ahead and click this edit. It's on the right hand side. And then if you go to general, the general tab, expand this out. And this is where it's located. So this is where the CTB file is being pulled from. So it's under C users, your name, app data, roaming, Autodesk, plotters, plot styles, there. So we'll do that real quick. So I already copied it. So I've copied that CTB file from the shared drive right now. And now I'm just going to go into my C file or my C folder. Users. App data. So sometimes if you don't see this app data folder, it's a hidden folder. So you have to go up to the view and make sure that you check hidden items and file name extensions in the view up here. So if I uncheck that, you'll notice that the app data folder is not you can't see that app data file. Have to make sure that hidden items are checked. Why they did that, I have no idea. Just to make life difficult. Select app data. I think it was local. Uh, 2022. Yeah, see, I get messed up too sometimes. I think it's in roaming, not local. So it's under C, users, your name, app data, roaming, Autodesk, Civil3D, whatever you're using, ENU, plotters, plot styles, and then you can just paste it into here. And then that will become available, for you. And then once you have that CTB file set up, that's when you can apply those plot styles. Again, go into modify, display plot styles, it should pop up correctly. And with those plot styles, it should show the blue and green on the USDA logo also on the plot styles. If you're just using the NRCS black and white one out of the box, you probably will notice that this is in black, whereas the one on the shared drive, shared documents, we've adjusted that to these specific colors for the logo to be in color. Any questions on the CTB file? All right, got one more section here. This is Sheet Set Manager. I know some people use this. I know when Jaquay came here, this is one of his requests that he'd like to see the sheet set table showing the sheet number and also the title. So instead of you handwriting all this stuff in, again, we have fields set up here when you create this that it's going to label those sheets correctly as to what you want. So the way to do that is through Sheet Set Manager, and that's located on your home tab under your palettes. And it looks like a roll of paper. And if you hover over any of these, they do give you an option as far as like shortcuts, if you will. So Control-4, for property, this is the Design Center, Control-2. Properties, I believe, is Control-1. So they do have options in there. But if you find that you're missing your properties or missing anything, just go up to the palettes, and that's where these are located, and you can turn these on and off. XREFs here or tool palettes. There's external references. You can turn that on if you want to. And you can dock it or whatever you want to do. But what we're going to do, we're going to concentrate in this Sheet Set Manager. And I do have instructions on this. And I believe yeah, I think I have it on the Sheet Set Manager here too. So I do go over this on that training. But the biggest thing on this, on the Sheet Set Manager, you go to new sheet set, existing drawings, click next, call it whatever you want. Usually it's just, the job name most of the time. Where you're going to store that, so that needs to be stored in the file that you're going to submit to for review. So whoever's reviewing the project, if they want to use the sheet set manager to produce or publish this, your plan, they can still use that. If not, they can, you can do it for them or what have you. But if it's stored in the folder that you're sharing, they can pull that DST file and be able to use that. It won't affect anything as far as your it won't affect anything as far as your table or your naming convention if you don't have that DST file in there. That's just used for specifics to publishing. Click next, go to browse, and then you go to your file location. Let's see where we're at. Webinar. Oh, I didn't save this. You gotta save your drawing first, so we'll just save this. I don't even know where it's saved to be honest. Oh, it saved it in there. Okay. All right, sheet set manager, new sheet set, next, call this example. Location, make sure it's in the correct folder location, click browse. Click the file location. And you'll notice the Maryland 45 grass waterway is shown here. So you just want to select the index, all the sheets that you want to do. Maybe we won't do the miscellaneous, we'll just do the index and sheet 2. If this doesn't show up, sometimes it doesn't, like showing that specific drawing in that location. What you'll do is you'll just, if there's nothing shown here as a DWG with those specific layouts, that's fine. Just go ahead and click next and click finish. Because I'll show you what you can do. So if it doesn't show up in here, let's see. Thought I had guess I didn't have it in here. I thought I did. Yeah, I guess I didn't have it in there. Sheet set, yeah. That's just publishing the drawing now. But if it doesn't show up, just go ahead and click next. And what you'll have to do in here, this will have whatever your sheet set name is with no index or sheets in there. And what you would do, you would just go import layout as sheet, browse it at same file location, and then it should show your 2 layouts, or in this case we had 3 layouts, but we only chose 2, and then you select those 2 layouts to create that sheet set. So once you have this open up, you'll notice that this says 1, whatever the name is, index. So we want to change that to match down here. So what you can do, you just select it. Rename and renumber. So you select that specific sheet set. And this is important as the way you number these, because what's going to happen, you'll notice that it's going to show up on this sheet once you enter your sheet in your sheet list table. So you can call it sheet 1, that's fine. You can just call it index, whatever the label may be. Layout name is 1 index. So when I do sheet title, you'll notice down here it's just going to stay index, and then it'll change the sheet number. Now, rename layout. So this is the layout to match prefix with sheet number. So with the prefix with sheet number, what it's going to do, it's going to say down here on my layout 1-index if I have this selected. So I'll do it both ways. So if I hit next, you'll notice 1 index. And then we'll just call this details. And I'll uncheck this, and you'll notice that it'll only show details. Click OK. So it now only shows details. That's a preference. You know, if you want to kind of keep everything in order, you can have that sheet number 1 in front of it, however you like to do it. So now you have 1 index, 2 details. The nice thing about this, you can publish to PDF, you know, and then just save that to wherever, and it's going to publish that drawing into a PDF. You can do it fairly quick there. But the next thing you want to do is you want to insert that sheet set. So back into there, you go to your example, you right click, make sure that you're on that sheet set, not on each individual one. You want to make sure you're on that main sheet set. Right click, insert sheet list table. Say that 5 times fast. And it defaults to the sheet list table. I always use the standard one. And the data type that I use is just sheet number and sheet number for the data type and heading text, and sheet title and sheet title. Click OK. Make sure that you're on annotation text, you know, something that, you know, whatever layer that you're on, and then plop that in there. Now you've entered that, you delete that. Now it gives this nice sheet list table, gives a sheet number, sheet title. What are these called underneath again? These gray areas? Can everybody hear me? Thanks, Lori. Fields, that's right. So it's got the gray underneath. So it's referencing something. So it's referencing the sheet number and also the sheet title. So now these, if you remember, this is a field, it's going to represent what? The sheet title name. So if I type in REA, you'll notice that that field now changed the index referencing that sheet title. So if I go to details, you'll notice that it goes into details. So it's just a nice function that if you have 10 pages, you don't have to hand write all those different headings underneath each title block. I thought that was really cool when I first discovered this, and saved a lot of time in doing that. Let me change the plot settings on this real quick. Any questions on sheet title or sheet manager? Do people use it? People don't use it? People just like to hand enter that stuff in there? No comments. Everybody's church mice today. Come on, it's Wednesday. It's halfway through the week. Starting to get cold weather. All right. So my preference, and this is just my preference in exporting a PDF that seems to be flawless, quick, fast, and easy. Again, I got to rename this because, again, I'm outside of that, so I don't want to throw off my my scaling. So all I'm going to do is just take the spaces out of here. So now you'll notice it double stacks. I could have got the Maryland 0045 out, but it does double stack if you have a larger file name. I don't think I have triple stacked on that, but it's definitely double. So just make sure that sticks within the title block. So a trick of the day is export PDF. Remember this command. I love it. Something I just learned probably within the past year or two. Comes up with this save as PDF. PDF preset, DWG to PDF. You can include a plot stamp if needed. And if people don't know what a plot stamp is, you can select any type of field. So you could put the drawing name in there, the layout name, when it was printed. Totally up to you. But some people, like to see that in their drawings. I don't know, I do see some on some drawings that way. One thing is it's printed usually outside of that sheet, but you can set it up to print it inside the actual sheet itself if you like to, and set up your own plot stamp. I don't have it set up on our templates that way, but most certainly I know in the private industry they have those set up. But you can add that if need be. Precision, I just keep it none. For the export, so this is the main one. Current layout, you want to do all layouts if you want to do the, obviously your whole project. But if you only wanted to do the first page just to kind of see what it looks like, you can just do that specific page. So whatever page you're at, say if you're on sheet 2, then you would just select, current, so that current layout. Otherwise, you can select all layouts. The page setup is current, so most of these templates have been set up. The page setup's been set up to the HP 540 or 520, whatever it was, and it gives you that default error that it's not been set up correctly, which we all know that because most of the time we create PDFs. We don't really plot the drawing from Civil3D because I don't know if other folks have experienced, but I know I've experienced in some of the larger drawing files that these plotters just can't handle the amount of information that Civil3D has, and most of the time they fail to print. Now with the new plotters that are being delivered, maybe they have better RAM and can handle that, but me personally, I've had the best luck of just creating a PDF and plotting it that way. And if anybody has had any better solutions or knows any tips or tricks on getting it done a little bit better, most certainly, speak up and share with the group that, you found different ways of doing it. But this is the one that, I go to now. So it's just that export PDF command, and it automatically goes to the DWG to PDF. If it doesn't, just make sure that, you select that. And actually, you can do a high quality print, smallest file. Like if you wanted to email something, you can do a web mobile. But I just select the DWG to PDF, all layouts, select where you're going to save it, click save, and you'll watch how fast this thing publishes. It's insane compared to other ways of publishing them and coming up with errors and things like that. So that's kind of like my go-to PDF export. So it's created the publish. We can go into that file location. And I did publish the whole thing. I did all three, which keep in mind that if you have three sheets, it's just not going to publish those two that you have active. It's going to cover whatever's in that specific drawing. So in this case, we had 3 different sheets in here. It's publishing all 3. But if you're familiar with, PDFs and things like that, you can delete this out if need be. And now you only have your sheet 1 and 2. So it's just a faster way, I think, of publishing. But again, you can go to Sheet Set Manager and publish it that way also. All right, I think I covered everything on the agenda. About 5 minutes over, but I'm open to any questions, suggestions, within the next half hour that people have. I know it's a lot of information, and for the newer folks out there, please, I can only stress that, you have to learn AutoCAD functions first before you start getting into Civil3D. That Maryland or mycadsite.com is a great site. If you've never used Civil3D, never used AutoCAD, that will give you the building blocks of what needs to be done as a user when you start doing designs and stuff like that. I know I've, instructed a couple new folks that had no experience to go visit that site and start doing those tutorials. They're free, but that's the building blocks of Civil3D, and you have to learn Civil3D. It's almost like, you got to learn your alphabet before you start, writing sentences and making words. So I can't stress that enough that, start with the basics first. I know it's a little overwhelming, especially, this is just the beginning of it. This is the very beginning of it. We're not even getting into, points and creating contours and surfaces, and there's so much more that's involved. And my goal throughout the next year is to try to get people up to speed, creating these trainings on the different areas. I know I have a lot of them online, but I know some folks like to see this stuff live, interact, maybe do it while I'm doing it on my computer. That way, you can kind of see what's going on live along with, following along on your computer. And then I know there's some folks that like to learn through documentation, which I have plenty of that stuff out there on the CAD users website. This specific one that, I was referring to back and forth, it's just the Civil3D 2022 Maryland Templates Overview. It's on the Maryland CAD users website. So it, has a lot of the, template stuff that I just went over. So there's a lot of information out there, and don't be shy as far as asking questions. This is what I do. This is what I'm here for. I'm, the CAD trainer for the state. So any template questions, any detail questions, any training questions, anything pertaining to CAD, or even designs. I mean, if you're having problems with designs or anything, feel free to reach out if somebody's not available in your area that you normally, talk with. I'm more than happy to answer questions and assist anyone in that aspect. Can't guarantee that I can answer all the questions, but I most certainly, if I can't, then I'll most get the answer to you as soon as I can. And then as far as the trainings are concerned, there will be more, on-site trainings that I'm going to be starting to do too. With the newer folks, trying to get them set up on their computers. I know going over Teams and, getting that set up is one thing, but actually having the folks do it, in front of me and asking questions and, going through all those different processes is nice, doing it hands-on. And eventually, and you've probably, people that have watched my trainings before, I want to come up with some type of system that validates folks that they are watching the trainings and that they get credit for watching these trainings. I mean, I do have a participant list here that will be provided to all the managers, knowing that the staff had taken these. The one drawback to that is if you're not here during the live presentation, it is being recorded, but there's no way of saying that, oh yeah, I watched Dan's presentation, that he provided it on 11/1. So if you can, I know schedules, you can't catch it all the time every time somebody puts a training on or a meeting, but we have to come up with some type of way to evaluate folks that they're watching these trainings and understanding the trainings, because I think it's valuable for you to know if you watch something, what you should be getting out of that specific video or topic that you should take home. There might be a lot of information shown out there, but the one key point that you want to take home in that 15 minutes is whatever. So I'm trying to work towards getting that, and I don't know, it's harder than what I anticipated, but I want to make it more streamlined for folks now with I know on the state side of things, with the technician workbook coming out, things are going to be expected of folks to try to do these trainings, document these trainings. So I want to have more trainings for folks so they're getting the information needed for them. So Addie had asked, is there a PDF or video that covers how to add another workspace? Yes. So if you go in the Maryland CAD users website, I believe it's in Civil3D training, saving and importing custom workspace, Maryland Video 23. I know it works under 2022, but if you don't have a current workspace, obviously you're not going to save it, so you could skip that step. But inserting a workspace in the Civil3D, this is where you go in and it goes through the customized user interface CUI, and this is where if you saved it somewhere and if you didn't save it, in this step you would basically be setting or selecting, if you recall, that CUI that's in the support files. So that Maryland Civil3D 20 CUIX file, just replace that with this. And then what happens is you just go through these steps. You'll notice that it comes over here and you just drag it into your workspaces. And then you'll see it into your workspace, and then that workspace will show up. Well, actually, I do go over it here. So this is the Maryland workspace. Go into the support files. So just go through this inserting Maryland workspace. And then it goes through the process of inserting it and showing it in there. And on those workspaces, so sometimes, when you're working and, you get the spin of death, just the blue thing spinning. A lot of times that, you can stop that from just selecting or changing your workspace. So if you're in your current workspace and you go to Civil3D, a lot of times that will eliminate that spin of death, believe it or not. Little things like that. And, over time, you'll see that when I'm doing trainings, that I'll do certain functions, please, if you see something that like, what did you just do? What command was that? Just, speak up. That's all I can say. I mean, this is very informal. I want people to learn. I want people to not be afraid of this program. I want it to be very user friendly. And as I said it in all trainings that I provide, I try to make the bare bones of what's needed in this program because it is such a dynamic program and it can be very overwhelming, especially to new users and how to do things. So the stuff that I'm going over is bare bones information. It has a lot more capabilities with it, but to get a product out the door and being able to put that product on the ground, all these trainings go over that basic stuff in order to do that. Any more questions out there? Floor is open, so if anybody has any suggestions or, I mean, it doesn't have to be specific to the topics we discussed this morning. Could be anything. I'm in the process of, creating a Civil3D 22 template that has some additional information on it from National. So that what I try to do with the templates, I try to roll them all out at once since we have 42 of them. I don't want to do something and then have to redo it again. So I try to take, I know folks, send me emails or, team messaging, and I take notes of, what people would like to see or changed. And I try to take that in consideration of the new templates when I update those. Of course, I'm not going to make everybody happy, but I try to make it, for everybody to make it easy for them, and any updates or things that you think might be beneficial to your area, for the state or whatever, most certainly send it my way. Same way with details. It's I know there's districts out there that make their own details that we could use in other counties throughout the state, and they're not shared. Because I'll review a project like, man, that's a really cool detail. I'd like to have that. So please, share that with everyone because it's only going to make better for, the state, and try not to reinvent the wheel, if you will, on any details also.
Hey Dan, this is Gail. How's it going?
Hey, Gail.
Hey, one thing I was hunting for the other day was a better like trash rack detail. I know you have some on like the 410s and the pond template, but they
Yeah.
look like they're kind of just a schematic with the profile, and then there was one other one, but it's like the HDE plastic style because it was easy to snag that. But it'd be nice to have one that's a little bit more like rebar fabricated. Maybe has the specs for the splitter plate thickness
Yep.
and dimensions. I think we could do a little bit better. And also, while it's a big group of people, if folks have details they're using that aren't on the template and want to share, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know at least in Cecil County, we've kind of been getting away from the aluminum pipe just because of the price cost. So we've been have been installing a lot of concrete boxes with the HDPE pipe for our pipe drops. And we've had a couple contractors manufactured, like you stated, with the rebar instead of having that plastic one from Storm Racks installed, because I know they're pretty pricey. So
Well, they're pricey. They're a little bit more trickier to get if you're not near where they have them. And technically, I know Ann Baldwin and us, like back in the day, we approved them, but technically, I think they're less than 6 inches on center. The benefit outweighs that little slight off, depending on the
Yes.
size you need. But to have the proper, like a steel rebar fabricated one, or how we want it painted or coated after it's fabricated with a note, like having that locked in as an extra detail, so folks don't have to make their own or hunt for like an old detail they came up with on an old design. That'd be handy.
Yeah. Well, do you know the specific details of what size rebar is recommended and the spacing and things like that?
Well,
on-
the max spacing is going to depend on your pipe, because it can't be more than half the diameter of your pipe. But the min is 6 inches on center.
Okay.
And I can send you the detail I found and used and forward it to Wade, because it showed up on a couple, but I think it could be perfected a little bit. I don't know that that's like the best, but it does the trick. But showing the anti-vortex plate, because we always forget, like, oh, how thick does it be, need to be, and how tall or wide, and making sure there's a note that it needs to be installed parallel with the pipe. There, a couple little things could be all buttoned up and handy, but I'm happy to work with you offline on that too.
Yeah, definitely. Because you bring up a good point with the anti-vortex plate. Now, on our pipe drops, we don't put any anti-vortex plates on ours, because when we discovered, now it might be okay on the concrete ones, but if we put the connection inside, but what was happening with the risers for the aluminum, they would connect them on the outside, and it would go, like, I think it would protrude down 6 to 8 inches, down the outside of the riser. And what was happening is that the contractor couldn't get good compaction around there. And we had more failures with that anti-vortex installed, because you had that small area in between the anti-vortex where
Yep.
you didn't get that full wear flow going into the pipe. It was kind of restricting it, and it was causing that, swirl effect. It fine inside the pipe, but outside the pipe, it wasn't doing its job. So we've kind of eliminated
410s.
that.
Yeah, I think I remember us having that conversation, because we were and you weren't, and I was like, oh, that's a learning opportunity there, because I see your point on that. But we could pull in, the engineering team and get their stamp on it, but at minimum on the 378s, we can make sure
Yes, for sure.
it's an option.
Yeah, no, that was definitely something on my radar, because, like I said, we've been using them more and more often in Cecil County with the concrete boxes. So we've kind of let the contractor manufacture their own, and just kind of see how they hold up with the 6-inch minimum grid spacing. And then even with that, the bar guards that we do on the standpipes for the aluminum ones, I find that if we use the yellow bar guards, you almost have to cut every other one, because a corn fodder will get jammed up in those, compared to if you purchase the heavier duty ones, they got a wider spacing in them and allow that corn fodder to get in. So there's a lot of little things out there that could be discussed and made a little bit better, for sure. That's why I think moving forward, again, as I stated before, maybe rectifying this CAG committee, where we have these different conversations and discussions of what's needed out there and what people have, and share these details and to the group, and get those out there for everybody's availability.
Yeah, I'd be happy to join if we're resurrecting a committee, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan,
Yeah,
to
thank
answer
you.
your earlier question about the bar size, I don't know what engineering went into it, but the detail I have calls out number 5 bar for the custom fab trash racks.
Okay. Where'd you find that from? Is that just
The old one that I got, I guess, when I was working with Gail.
okay?
I think you have it.
Oh no.
I imagine number 4 bar would be fine too. It's probably whatever's easiest. I can't imagine number 4 bar like degrading before the
Yeah.
lifespan.
It probably just depends on where the trash rack's going. If it's in a pasture with cattle, you might want 5 bar. But if it's
True.
somewhere remote, number 4 is probably all right.
Yeah, and even with the coatings, like does it have to be like an epoxy steel because it's in the elements? I don't know.
The stormwater management ponds call for hot dip galvanized after fabricating. We haven't been doing that on a lot of these ag projects or requiring that. That's kind of a bigger deal, but we can talk to the area engineers and see what they want to see on it. But a lot of times, as long as they're painted and sealed, it's kind of just defaults into a maintenance thing as long as it lasts the lifespan of the 20-year pond practice or whatever it is.
Right. Right.
It'd be nice to use that rebar made for bridges with the coating already on it.
Yeah, that's the epoxy coating on for that green.
Yeah.
But I know that rebar is like probably double the price of regular rebar, I'm sure.
And then they'd still have to fabricate it. So there'd be every tack joint.
That's weldable rebar, so you could paint that. But even the extra cost of the epoxy coated is less expensive than having to send it out to get hot dip galvanized.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that, but a lot of them have been painting it. I know some we got a polymer coated pipe and it had some issues with just getting delivered and getting mashed up by the company,
Oh,
which was
jeez.
kind of messed up. So they ended up using like bed liner spray just to
Oh.
coat everything really nice and thick.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Yep.
So there's some options, but it's kind of an overlap between some engineering judgment calls and getting the details straight. So
No, absolutely. Yeah,
we
it's
can come up
definitely.
with something and run it by them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just keep me in the loop on that, and we can probably put something together because, like I said, we need to do that for at least our county for the pipe jobs because aluminum pipe is just you have to order from Southeastern Pipe, and most of the time they don't bring it up just on a single load. They have to wait until they get multiple projects in order to bring it up, and so that's why we've kind of went the route with concrete risers compared to the aluminum.
If we can get a short enough riser and make it work, we prefer that too. That's actually why the trash rack detail popped up. I started looking and everything was a hooded inlet from having taller
Oh, right.
risers.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, oh no, where's all the concrete boxes?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely for sure. Anybody else have anything? All right, well, it's almost 12 o'clock, lunchtime. I thank everybody for participating today. Like I said, don't feel as, I know it's a little bit overwhelming, but, if you do have any questions as far as the customization, feel free to reach out and I can most certainly, walk you through it, through Teams. And then eventually, like I said, I'm going to start doing on-site training. So. All right. Well, that's all I had. I appreciate everyone on here today, and we'll get another training out here probably end of this month or next month. Have a good one, everybody.